Hello and welcome to the tavern. It feels like it's been a long time since I've done a faction briefing. This time I'm looking at a smaller faction with many holes in their history. They are also one of many smaller units that have a history that just stops. It doesn't end, it stops. Due to that, I've included my speculations about their fate. All that being said, let's uncover the sloppy history of Mobile Fire. The unit emblem is a flaming torch set on an oval background. I think it works well because a torch is a mobile form of fire, so at least their symbol matches their name fairly well. Their color scheme is a standard green and gray camo pattern for ground forces, while the aerospace units use gray and blue camo coloring. They aren't very flashy, but their colors work for a smaller mercenary team. There is no fiction for Mobile Fire, and their sourcebook entries are limited. However, if you want to skip spoilers, then go to the time listed. The origins of Mobile Fire are a bit vague. It is known they started some point prior to the beginning of the Third Succession War. The unit began as an armor command that sold its services to House Steiner. It is likely they spent their time doing garrison work. Due to their long-time service with the Lyran Commonwealth, Mobile Fire was given battle mechs during the early Third Succession War. However, the mercenaries still viewed their tank commanders as the main leadership of the unit. There are no major known battles that Mobile Fire faced during their contract with House Steiner. Again, they were probably set for garrison work or holding conquered planets. By the end of the war, they were stationed on Canal. The Mobile Fire mercenaries were teamed up with the Bad Dream mercenaries to invade Gunsburg in November 3028. They faced off with the 22nd Rasselhag Regulars, a heavy mech DCMS unit. The Regulars used their knowledge of the land to do hit-and-run attacks against the mercenaries. It made the battle drag on for a while, so the mercenaries came up with a plan. Colonel Quinton Moore, the Mobile Fire commander, sent a message to the commander of the Bad Dream forces, telling them half of the Mobile Fire troops were down due to Brinhart's fever, a local disease. The message was intercepted by the Regulars commander. He planned an attack, but found the mercenary base empty before being flanked by the full force of Mobile Fire. Then, the Bad Dream forces moved in to complete the pincer attack. The Regulars commander decided to surrender instead of allowing his troops to be slaughtered. After that, he committed seppuku with poison. The Mobile Fire mercenaries remained on the Draconis Combine Lyran Commonwealth border for the rest of the war. As the war cooled down, Mobile Fire returned to their base on Canal. They were transferred to Baxter as the War of 39 started up. Not long into the war, Mobile Fire was sent out to Constance, along with the 4th Crucius Lancers and 4th Lyran Regulars. Due to the overwhelming force headed their way, the 22nd Dairon Regulars wanted to evacuate, but due to their jump ship being disabled, they could only dig in and fight. Initially, the FedCom forces had a major advantage. In the months that would pass, the Regulars would start a guerrilla war due to losing many of their forces early on. Their actions bought enough time for the 3rd Dairon Regulars to arrive as backup. The combined DCMS forces took control of the battlefield despite a valiant defense by Mobile Fire. Soon after, FedCom leadership negotiated a ceasefire and the FedCom forces withdrew from the planet. The months of battle on Constance took a big toll on Mobile Fire, as they lost their commander, Quinton Moore. However, they had enough troops that by the end of the war, they were stationed on 3 worlds. The 1st Battalion was on Kon Kain, the 2nd Battalion was on Madiun, and the 3rd Battalion was on San Hoa to refit and rebuild. As the Lyran side of the Federated Commonwealth was dealing with the clans, Mobile Fire was busy holding off raids from the Black Warriors until Lyran forces counterattacked in 3058. With the establishment of the Lyran Alliance in 57, Mobile Fire was one of the few mercenary units to side with Catherine Steiner Davian. As a reward, they were moved closer to Tharkod and given several refit packages to bring their equipment closer to the standards of the time. They were stationed on Linden on the eve of the Fedcom Civil War. They would be nearly destroyed by Archer's Avengers during the war. However, the time and location of the battle is unclear, as Archer's forces tended to split up and planet jump, raiding weaker pro-Catherine forces. It is likely one of these raids is where Mobile Fire took heavy damage. After being defeated, Mobile Fire withdrew to rebuild and were later transferred to garrison a border world near the clan occupation zone. However, I can find no information about Mobile Fire fighting during the Clan Jade Falcon incursion in 3064. After the Civil War ended, Mobile Fire was stationed on New Earth, but chose to not renew their contract with the Lyran Alliance due to the difficulties they had faced in the Civil War. This would be the first time that Mobile Fire accepted an alternative client. They left New Earth and took up a job with the Word of Blake. With New Earth unprotected, the Word of Blake moved in and took the world. Meanwhile, Mobile Fire was teamed up with other mercenaries and sent to attack Imbros III in 3069. Imbros fell quickly to the Blake forces and their mercenary backup. At this point, it is known that the Mobile Fire mercenaries remained with the Word of Blake's mercenary forces. However, their fate is not listed, but it is likely they were wiped out like all other mercenaries that joined up with the Blakeists. That being said, I have my own hypothesis of how the unit ended. It is likely Mobile Fire continued with the Blake-supported mercenary forces until the raid on Moore. As the Moore family was the traditional leader of Mobile Fire, it seems likely they would have gone there even if the family has nothing to do with the naming of the planet. In the Battle of Moore, the destruction of a mech near a volatile swamp led to a massive firestorm that destroyed a large chunk of the planet, including the capital. This is where Mobile Fire met their doom, as they were roasted in a huge firestorm. This will remain my headcanon until an official alternative is given. Mobile Fire is one of the more unique mercenary units, due to being designed around armored units rather than battle mechs. Their love of tanks, hovercrafts, and other armored vehicles had a big impact on the tactics and development of the unit. However, they lack entries in sourcebooks and got forgotten after the early days of the Word of Blake War. It would be nice to see the gaps in their history being filled, but it is more likely Mobile Fire will be forgotten, like many other small mercenary units. Despite gaps in their history, there are a handful of notable pilots from Mobile Fire. Quinton Moore, the commander of Mobile Fire in the Third Succession War, who died in the War of 39. He continued a family legacy of heavy tank specialist commanders. He piloted a Sturmfuhrer heavy tank. Fred Lorenzen, the first commander who wasn't of the Moore family to command in generations. He led the team after Quinton died until Quinton's son was ready for command. He piloted an unknown heavy tank. Donald Moore, the son of Quinton Moore, who took command during or after the Fedcom Civil War. He is responsible for taking up the contract with the Word of Blake. Unlike his family, Donald was a mech pilot, but his preferred mech is unknown. Mobile Fire is unique as they have a large amount of armor and less battle mechs. They mostly use light mechs and faster medium mechs. Each battalion is made up of a team of armor supported by mechs with occasional infantry support. There is also a squadron of fighters that gives air support to each of the 3 battalions. Each of the battalions has a specific function. 1st Battalion specializes in speed and stealth. The 2nd Battalion specializes in rough weather and low visibility. And the 3rd Battalion is specialized in defensive maneuvers. While this is an easy force to build, it is not a very exciting force on the tabletop unless you really like vehicle combat. If you have an excess of armored vehicles, then putting together a squad could be a fun change of pace from your usual mech combat. There is no fiction I could find on Mobile Fire. However, there is a fair amount of entries in sourcebooks for Mobile Fire, but in many cases, it is very basic information. There are limited deep entries, but they do get a TRO entry for the Sturmfuhrer heavy tank. This was an interesting journey for me. I stumbled across Mobile Fire while doing my Black Warriors briefing, and kept them as a small unit to cover at a later date. When I started my research, this seemed like a good unit to cover, but as time passed, I realized that this is one of many units that has far too many gaps in their history. It was really annoying to learn that their story does not end, it just stops. The WizKids and Catalyst eras really hurt the lore because the attention to detail seemed to just fade away when Faza was no longer in control. It really makes lore briefings more difficult than they really should be, but there is nothing I can do beyond explaining the issue and making educated guesses about what happened. This wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last time, but it still annoys me. Rants aside, with the new vehicle packs that are coming due to the Mercenaries Kickstarter, making Mobile Fire is far easier than it has been in previous years. That being said, I'm not really sure if any mech commander really needs these low-tier mercenaries in their army. For those of you who do like Mobile Fire and paint up a set of units, please send some pictures. I'd like to see them. With all the new vehicles that Catalyst has produced, it is easy to imagine a Mobile Fire Force Pack featuring a mix of vehicles and light mechs. I'd also include cards for Quentin Moore, Donald Moore, and Fred Lawrenson. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your patience, as it has been a while since I've done a BattleTech faction briefing. I do plan to have more BattleTech briefings very soon. I'm planning some big ones, so this summer should be a good time for BattleTech on my channel. A big thank you to all the mech warriors who've subscribed. May your weapons stay hot and your reactors stay cool. Until next time, I'll see you at the tavern.